My whole life, I've been asking, why did I become a programmer? And the question, or rather the answer I keep coming back to is Donkey Kong. I owe this incredible debt. I'm glad to know I'm in good company here. I owe this incredible debt to Donkey Kong. And like a lot of people my age, I became obsessed with video games. But unlike a lot of my peers, I didn't get an Atari game machine. My parents went out and they got me a VIC-20. VIC-20 was a $100 computer then. You can get it for $10 now in Brazil or India. And it really was a very limited computer, 1 megahertz, 5K, but it was the perfect size sandbox for a kid to learn to program. And one of the other things that was really important was this magazine Compute. Each month I got programs that I could type in myself. And it was almost like a kind of medieval apprenticeship. I would pore over these texts, typing in these programs, and through that learn to become a good programmer too. That led to a career in technology. I've worked in social media. I work now as an intern at Microsoft. I actually, if Steve Carell needs an idea for another movie, I think I've got one, The 40-Year-Old Intern. But the real question is not, why did I become a programmer? The real question is, how do we help? Why didn't my friends become programmers, right? I mean, they had Atari game machines. They were obsessed with computers. But I went on to become a programmer, and they didn't. And so the first answer is things like family, right? My parents had the wisdom to get a VIC-20, not an Atari. My grandparents encouraged me to be curious. I had a teacher in 6th grade who let me sneak out of wood shop and into computer shop, and that was all really important. But one other thing that I think was really important was things like the manual for the VIC-20, which was a really amazing sort of structured guide, a gentle on-ramp to programming, and it allowed me step by step to teach myself to program in a way that was entirely self-directed and independent of school. And again, as I mentioned, Compute was really important to that process. And so I wonder, really, how could we do that for others, right? The question is not, how did I become a programmer? But the question is, how could we mass produce that kind of support and structure that allowed me to have this career? And the answer becomes a little more complicated there. UNESCO did a study where they looked at how many elementary school teachers do we need in the world. And they estimated we needed 1.1 million elementary school teachers just for sub-Saharan Africa, right? And that's to produce average teachers. And I warn you, next thing is the New York Times. But Nick Kristof did a paper, wrote an article in the fall where he said, the best antidote to poverty is good teachers. And not just teachers, of average quality, but what we need are great teachers. What matters is teacher quality. You just might have seen the article yesterday in the Times where a study found that if you look at the effect of a really high-quality kindergarten teacher in the earnings of her class, it aggregates up to about $320,000 of value, right? So, but not any old kindergarten teacher. It's got to be the standout kindergarten teacher. And so we've got this riddle, which is, I think of as kind of the human capital challenge, right? How do we produce millions of high-quality teachers? And I don't think we have a good answer. And so at least part of the answer, I think, is helping good teachers become exceptional or produce exceptional results by using computers. And what I mean here is not what we've done for the last 20 years, the last 30 years really, which is to think about how do we teach kids to use computers, but how do we get computers that can teach? And we're seeing a few examples of this kind of hybrid model of learning. And what I mean by a hybrid model is you've got software that does both of those things that I talked about before. It's both support and structure. It's motivating for kids. It allows kids to have fun while learning. It provides an engaging kind of personalized tutor. But it also is structure. There's a kind of progression you go through. There's something where you're learning almost like in a curriculum. Dreambox is one company. Carnegie Learning spun out of Carnegie Mellon is another. They're both doing math education and showing very good results. But they're not that widely available. And I think we need more than just the commercial vendors doing this. We really need free options so that it reaches a vastly larger population. We need it to be open source so that it can be repurposed in different languages for local needs in different countries. And we need it to be built as if we were delivering education from the ground up on a computer. What you see with a lot of magnificent education ventures is they're doing things like producing PDFs. So it's digital media that can be distributed by computer, but it's not using the computer as a medium for education. Video by computer is not really rethinking education from the ground up, as if the computer were going to be a way we delivered education. So these things need to be software tutors. And so I'm with some friends working to try and do some of that, free open source tutors with ed2.org, but really we all need to be, I think, thinking about and involved in producing, or more accurately, I believe that if we produce high-quality, free, open-source tutors, that next generation of kids will have the opportunity to be creators, not just consumers, too. Thank you very much.